Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis Damian Podcast, episode 67. We're available on anchor.fm/Travis Damian Podcast, along with Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. If you guys would like to ask us any questions, you could leave a voice message at the anchor link or in the YouTube comment section. Today, we're going to be talking about general entertainment news, including a Pokémon live action series and Disney versus Scarlett Johansson. Next, our recent activities in gaming and manga. Afterwards, our first impressions on Pokémon Unite. Lastly, our thoughts on the Activision Blizzard situation. So first piece of news is Ms. Marvel and Hawkeye will be released before the end of 2021. And after they released that article on Variety, it was confirmed that Hawkeye is going to be premiering on November 24th. So I think that is pretty exciting, especially with the end of Loki. No spoilers whatsoever. But I think with the first three MCU shows that we've gotten so far, and especially with Loki, at the end of it, it is very exciting to see where the MCU is going to go from there. And I think that these two shows in particular are going to be a lot more grounded. I think that they're going to be, especially Ms. Marvel, probably like a sort of like coming of age school story involving this girl who loves Captain Marvel, but is sort of taking on that name as she gains her new powers as a minority as well. And then with Hawkeye, within the EW article, Jeremy Renner sort of talked about Kate Bishop and Haley Steinfeld and sort of how they're going to interact on camera. And I think that is very exciting. I think Hawkeye is definitely the show that I'm a little more excited for just because I love Haley Steinfeld and I cannot wait to go and see her in that Kate Bishop role. But Ms. Marvel, I am about equally as excited for, just a little less.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. Miss Marvel, I think she's got a lot of exposure recently because of the Avengers game. Actually, I feel like a lot of people actually did like Miss Marvel in that game. I know she had some, the writing in that game isn't like the best, but I think it made an okay impression of the character and kind of gave, people like an idea what that character is. And obviously Hawkeye, we all know Hawkeye, and yeah, like you said, I think Hawkeye is gonna be a pretty good show as well. Probably gonna follow a similar format like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where it's a lot more, grounded and a lot more based on just like, espionage and stuff. So that's always going to be exciting to watch. But I'm honestly a little more curious about the Miss Marvel stuff because I am excited to see how the MCU treats this character and like how they introduce it to the overall MCU. And I expect some like school drama stuff and coming of age stuff. Like what we would think of like a show like that. So yeah, I am looking forward to these two shows as well, and them both happening before the end of 2021 is pretty cool as well. Hopefully people don't get marveled out at that point because I know they've been releasing a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
I do think everything they've been releasing so far has been very good. Like I really like all the shows, Loki being my favorite. I thought Black Widow was pretty good. Obviously not the best thing ever, but it was better than I thought it was going to be. So I think Phase 4 is starting off pretty well, and hopefully these two shows keeps continuing that. So.
Yeah, and I think that these shows having like I guess a solid release date before the end of the year is exciting. The movies themselves, I know Shang-Chi is going to be releasing in September, and that's still going to happen in theaters only. And whatever happens with Spider-Man and the other MCU movies that'll come out before the end of the year, I'm not sure if there's any others outside of Spider-Man and Shang-Chi. But those could get delayed depending on what happens with the Delta variant because, people are now talking about that now and everything like that. So, the future is still up in the air for, I guess, these MCU movies in particular, but I cannot see why the Disney Plus shows would get delayed. So I think that it is nice to, have some, I guess, stability within the Marvel stuff now just because of these TV shows. And I think that Disney and Marvel are doing a very good job with the whole Disney Plus sort of angle with these shows, being able to develop these characters even further than a movie would, especially with the three shows that we've already gotten so far. I think that has shown us plenty, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think they proved themselves that they could do like good TV shows at this point. I know some people don't like, some of the finales and stuff. Especially with I think like WandaVision, a lot of people didn't really like the finale and stuff, but I thought they were good. But yeah, I think the TV shows provides a more unique like style of thing. I like the MCU's always been pretty good. I think at sort of not being too repetitious. I know some people might disagree with that because old superheroes, but I do think a lot of them feel different from each other in terms of genre of things they're doing. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I have full faith that the Miss Marvel and Hawkeye show would be good, and I'm looking forward to it because I've been like. I think last year, there wasn't really any Marvel things, which was a nice break after Infinity War. But I think now I'm ready for more Marvel stuff. We already got a bunch of stuff, but I'm excited. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But next we got Dead Space, a remake. So this was during the EA Play thing. I didn't watch the whole thing because, surprisingly there really wasn't anything
Yep.
besides like sports stuff and whatever else EA would show. But people were really excited for anything Dead Space related because I think they've been hinting at a lot of different things. Like when Mass Effect 3, I'm sorry, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition came out, they were trying to say like, hey, is there any interest in like sort of a Dead Space like trilogy thing? And people were like, yeah, we are. But I guess they were remaking Dead Space, and as we see right here, it doesn't really show much, just like some in-engine stuff, I guess, and Isaac Clarke like messing with his like whatever the weapon he uses, and like it looks cool. And yeah, I mean, it being a remake is something I didn't expect. I expected more of a soft reboot that most things do, but it seems like they're just straight up just remaking the first game. And yeah, that's gonna be pretty interesting to see. I've never really played the Dead Space games. My brother did, so I know a lot about the series just based off him. He loves it. Basically, it's just like space Resident Evil, basically. And yeah, if they could do this well, then hopefully EA could get a nice library of IPs again, because they kind of just focus on sports stuff and whatever Respawn it does, which is good. But they kind of need more stuff. I mean, what was that game called? It Takes Two, right?
Yeah.
I forgot what the dude's name is, but he makes great stuff as well, and that's from EA. So yeah, hopefully they get Dead Space back and up and running, because I think that would be a nice benefit for EA to just have more variety in the like game library.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the YouTube comments for this IGN trailer, and people are like, "Don't forget what they did to Visceral," and I'm like, that is kind of true. But just looking at this trailer in its own little bubble, it is kind of cool that we are getting a Dead Space remake. I think that whenever old IPs and old franchises come back, I think remaking or making a collection of some sort is a good way to gauge interest, to see if you want to make more games or not. And Dead Space as a franchise, just like you, I'm not really too familiar with it, just because back then I was very, very much afraid of horror.
Yeah.
But now I'm a little more comfortable with it. I think that horror games and the horror genre in general, I'm a lot more comfortable with, especially with movies. I don't mind watching horror movies, but when it comes to like a horror game, I'm like, oh, like I'm like controlling this character, like shit could pop up out of nowhere, I'm scared. So I like to watch horror games. I'm definitely in that camp where I'll watch streamers or let's players or whatever. But for this game in particular, if it ends up being really, really good and people are actually really enjoying it, and I have time to play it, maybe I'll check it out, just because this seems like a nice entryway into the Dead Space series, just because it is a remake and a remaster. And it looks like from like the press and the PR that they've been saying, they are trying to take a lot of care with this remaster, because I'm sure that they know that the Dead Space fans there's probably not a lot of them, but they're probably very vocal, which I would not be surprised at all. So hopefully EA could do this right, because EA in the past, they have not had a very good rep, and hopefully that they are able to fulfill on this one. And I believe Frostbite is developing it or something like that. I don't even know.
I actually have no idea who's making this. So yeah, I think it said it somewhere, but I'm not too sure.
But yeah, it's gonna be cool to see Dead Space back in the sort of limelight within the gaming industry, I guess.
Yeah, I think it has some room to sort of stand between this and Resident Evil, since Resident Evil is going more for a first-person point of view now. So I think Dead Space could kind of fill that third-person, hole that the other Resident Evils did. Even though they are remaking Resident Evil 4, but whatever.
Next bit of news, pretty quick. Dragon Ball Super superhero teaser. This is going to be the next movie. I believe it takes place right after the Broly movie. So yeah, the Broly movie came out in like 2018, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. So now that we are getting another Dragon Ball Super piece of media, is going to be kind of cool. Obviously, this is just a teaser trailer. It doesn't really show us much other than the title. But I believe we do have some details on the story. I believe Pan is going to be part of this, Gohan and Vidal's child, and there's going to be some sort of time skip or something like that. And if the title suggests, like superheroes are going to be involved in some way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah, Sandman. Here you go.
But yeah, it's cool to see more Dragon Ball stuff. I mean, when it comes to anime and just like Dragon Ball in general, that's I guess a lot of people's gateway anime that they watch Dragon Ball or they knew of Dragon Ball when they were younger and they still follow Dragon Ball today, or they watch other anime outside of Dragon Ball because of it. I'm definitely in that camp where I definitely want to watch Super, but or like watch or read Super, but I know that like the animation, because I watched up until like the very last arc that they did for the anime. I watched all the way up until that point, but I forgot about like what a lot of it happened. So I definitely want to go back and I guess like rewatch everything. Skip like the movie episodes because I think that those are pointless for me personally. But I know that the manga is still going and people are loving the Dragon Ball Super manga just because, it's Dragon Ball. It's still like Goku and Vegeta going around the galaxy finding the next strongest foe and just, fighting them or whatever. So, I wonder on how this movie's going to do. It's probably going to do well, obviously, again, just because it is a Dragon Ball movie, but because they are taking this slightly different approach, just because the last movie, it was about Broly and like they brought Broly into like the main continuity, I guess, but people knew who Broly was from the other movies, and Broly's I guess like a fan favorite character among Dragon Ball fans. I don't know, I could be bullshitting here, but that movie in and of itself did really well because it had a familiar, I guess, villain backing it, but also on top of that, it just had fantastic animation and just really, really, really fun fights. So this one, I'm just interested to see on how it goes, just because it is taking a less exciting approach, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't watched like Super. I watched all the movies, like the Battle of the Gods, which was really good, the Frieza one, which was okay, and the Broly one, which I thought was also pretty good. But I have not watched like anything of Super yet, and I probably should. But yeah, Dragon Ball is kind of weird where it's kind of still like that old style of shonen where like watching each episode kind of feels a little torture. I'm not gonna lie, because it feels like some episodes are just entirely pointless. Like, what was the point of that? Just like fill out time, I guess. I'm a lot more used to seasonal like season anime at this point, like Demon Slayer and My Hero and Jujutsu Kaisen, where things feel at a constant pace and like nothing ever feels like too bad. Like there might be a filler episode here and there, but that's about it. Like it really isn't that much like detracting from the actual story, unlike Dragon Ball where I feel like meanders a lot. But I'll probably still give it a go. I still really like the movies, and if this movie is gonna be like Broly, then I think that's gonna be pretty good. This teaser didn't show me like anything at all. It's just like Goku do some cool stuff, right? But I'm still looking forward to it. I'm gonna watch it anyway, even if I don't know what the hell is going on, because I like Dragon Ball. So, but yeah, again, Dragon Ball is kind of a weird position for me where I respect it a lot. I still love it, but it definitely isn't like my favorite anime ever. But I do, love it for showing me what anime even was. So, that was back when I just called it. Oh, it was just cartoons anyway. So, but yeah, still looking forward to it.
Definitely the meme of don't mess with Dragon Ball fans because they only know about Dragon Ball is kind of true to some regards. But I'm just clowning here. But yeah, this new movie, I'm interested to see the first actual trailer, because I think that that's when a lot of people will get really, really excited for it. So,
yep. So next we have something that's weird here. So Netflix is going to make a live-action Pokemon series. So it's going to be similar to Detective Pikachu. So I also haven't watched Detective Pikachu, so I can't really comment on the quality on that. I heard it was okay. And I think this could work, right? Like, I mean, it seems like it would cost a bit of money because actually animate the Pokemon and stuff. So it's not really that live action because half of it is going to be like CG because of all the Pokemon. But I guess it will save costs on just like animation and stuff. I don't know. I do think it could work though, but it's not like something that really excites me too much, Mostly because I think the anime kind of represents Pokemon good enough. Obviously Ash kind of sucks and like I wish they just got away from that. But whenever Pokemon does do like other animated projects, like I think they were doing some shorts for Gen 8, like Sword and Shield stuff, and that Pokemon Origin stuff a few years ago. Those were really good. Like I really enjoyed those a lot. So I kind of wish they would put money into a proper Pokemon anime that's like maybe geared a little more towards older audiences, because it could work. But it looks like they're going more towards this route, which could also be like fun, but not something I'm personally really looking forward to. So.
Yeah, definitely that Pokemon Origin anime brought me back a few years.
Yeah.
Because that was a dope animation.
Yeah, it was really good.
That they did. So, Detective Pikachu, I saw that in theaters when it came out, and I thought that it was fun, with Ryan Reynolds and Justice Smith. I thought that was like a fun, video game movie in and of itself. If you know what you're getting into is a goddamn talking Pikachu, and, you got this human character, and, they interact with each other, and there's Pokemon, like what else can you really expect more from that? And I thought that it was fine. And I'm sure that there have been people since that movie has come out, it's been years now, that have loved it or, hated it or whatever the case is. I think that it was still a fine Pokemon live action movie. And if they're going to develop a whole Netflix series based or something similar around that, but whatever they kind of story that they decide to do, that's like my real question is like, what are they going to actually make? Is it going to be like a whole new story? Is it going to be something based on the actual games? Are they going to do Ash again, but just like in live action or whatever? I think that'll be really goofy. But Netflix's library, they have a lot of stuff on there, but when it comes to like their original and like exclusive stuff, it's a lot of them just like throwing money at other IPs and just like making it into like their own thing. Like their only like original thing that I can like really think of is like Stranger Things, because I think that a lot of their other original stuff has either ended or like it's not as strong as Stranger Things, because Stranger Things really like blew up when it did come out.
Yeah.
So, Netflix developing a live action series for Pokemon does sound a bit strange, especially since that they have the showrunner / executive producer of Lucifer on this project, which
Okay.
I haven't watched Lucifer all that much. I've watched a few episodes here and there because our friend Louis, he watches that show. And when we were on vacation one time, he was just like watching some episodes, and I was like, yeah, you can put it on. I really don't care. And I was just watching, and I was like, what the hell is going on? But then again, he was like in the middle of like season 4 or 5 or whatever, and I'm just like, all right, like stuff's going on, some romance stuff, whatever, but there's like vampires too, and I'm like, okay, don't know what's going on here, but I believe that show was on CW, so that might be why. CW shows are definitely a little strange. I know a lot of people on Twitter have been recently giving The Flash a lot of flack, which is understandable because I think that show should have ended a while ago, and they're still going. But
yeah,
enough of that. Pokemon live action series, we just have to wait and see. Like I say with a lot of things on this show. Because if they actually do make it similar to Detective Pikachu, I think that it can work. But if they somehow miss the mark, it's not gonna work, in my opinion.
No, yeah, because it's it's gonna be weird because it can't really show that many Pokemon because that's gonna cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably gonna stick with like a Pokemon or two like each episode. Unless again, I don't know what kind of story they're aiming for here. I guess Netflix is confident in this because The Witcher did really good, and like Castlevania. I know Castlevania is animated, but Castlevania says, oh, we've done some good video game stuff. Let's get like Pokemon, like the #1 IP ever. So yeah, hopefully they can make it stick, but I highly doubt it.
Okay, so next bit of news is that there's a new video game development studio called That's No Moon. And these are former Infinity Ward and Naughty Dog veterans, and they got a $100 million investment from Crossfire Studio Smilegate, and their debut title is going to be a story-driven action-adventure game. So, yeah, this is very exciting. Just like the $100 million investment is kind of crazy. So, I'm not sure if they're going to blow all of their money on this first AAA game that they're going to try to develop, because that's going to be kind of crazy. They have to have something very interesting and very unique to really captivate me personally, because I love story-driven action-adventure games. Like, without a doubt, The Last of Us Part 1 is still one of my favorite games of all time. Part 2, say what you will about it. I'm not going to dive too deep into it because I already, talked about it so much on my YouTube channel. But I love other story-driven games that have come out recently. One that I could think of, I guess, is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is kind of story-driven, and that game did a pretty good job of retelling Spider-Man's story, but within a unique perspective from Insomniac's, I guess, little world. And then Anyways, other games I've played, Uncharted, etc., etc. They have to have something that is captivating to the general gaming audience as well. It can't be generic, because like if it's generic, it's not gonna do well, and you're gonna have people not really that invested into it because. And I'm sure that they know this because these are industry veterans, as they call it within this game industry biz article. Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of people behind this brand new studio, and I'm sure that they are very eager and very motivated to create something that'll hopefully, take the gaming industry and gaming world by storm, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it said like both Infinity Ward and Naughty Dog veterans is like, pretty high mark in terms of like companies to get for it. You know what I mean? Like for veteran wise, and making a new story-driven action adventure game. We have plenty of those, but if they could do like a unique one, I think that'd be pretty neat. Like they can't just do like, oh, let's just do Uncharted again because people will call that out. I mean, when the new Tomb Raider came out, people were saying this is just Uncharted, even though Tomb Raider came before Uncharted. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they come up with. I'd like to see maybe some more sci-fi like that. I think that'd be pretty neat. I don't think we really have a lot of those. Sort of like storytelling, like sort of action adventure type games. Mostly they're set either like in modern times and stuff, or like other way, like fantasy stuff. So I think it'd be pretty interesting to go for that route. But yeah, basically, I'm always excited to hear new studios being formed, especially ones with like good reputations like this. It's gonna be interesting. It's also really interesting because Naughty Dog's sort of view on gamings could change over the years, and maybe these veterans are like, no, we want to keep making things like Uncharted, and maybe Infinity Ward was getting sick of like Activision, so it's like, okay, we'll do our own thing, and like some of the people left and made their own thing. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how well this turns out. I mean, like you can have the gunplay from like Infinity Ward like people, and then you can have the sort of like the story-driven action adventure stuff from the Naughty Dog veterans, and maybe you can make something really neat. So yeah, basically I'm looking forward to it. Really always excited, again, like I said, with new studios being formed. And we've been seeing that a lot lately. And a lot of these new studios have been being bought out by all these bigger companies. So hopefully this one could kind of retain its freedom so it could do whatever it wants. I know people get excited whenever like a big company buys another company, but it's also nice to have some like sort of still double A independent studios making whatever the hell they want instead of just being straight up bought by Sony or Microsoft. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what they do for their first game.
Yeah.
All right, so for our last bit of news, we got a pretty controversial one here. So Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney over a contract breach for releasing Black Widow on Disney Plus. So basically, Disney Scarlett Johansson was like, hey, this should have released on theaters, but released on Disney Plus and stuff. So what's the deal with that? And basically Disney just kind of just shamed her, saying like, oh, like this is a callous disregard for the pandemic and stuff. Even though Disney has been doing a lot of things over the pandemic that hasn't been great. I mean, honestly, they've been treating Pixar pretty badly as well, as they released Soul and I think, what was the other new movie? I think Luca, whatever.
Yeah, it was the fish movie.
yeah, on Disney Plus as well. And I know Pixar was really pissed about that as well. And they're basically saying it's about a pandemic, but it probably is something more about that. But regardless, it shouldn't even matter because they still breached the contract. Like they didn't really like informed her like about all this stuff, right? Like it was just like, oh, we're just gonna breach the contract, and I think Scarlett Johansson's kind of in the right for that. Either the show just maybe delayed the movie again for later in the year, even though that probably would interrupted their plans for the other MCU stuff, or they just like, just made a new contract or something. I'm not too sure how redoing contracts works. I'm not like a business boy, but they still probably should like clean things out a bit because Disney's been kind of weird with the whole Disney Plus Premier Access stuff, and I know a lot like people are just not happy about it, like Scarlett Johansson and Pixar, like I mentioned. So, but also Disney was just like, oh, but she still made money out of it. So yeah, but they're not wrong, but still, it's not what they agreed to.
Definitely. It's interesting to see people on Twitter like argue this. They're like, oh, Scarlett Johansson, you made a lot of money, this and that. And I'm like, but when you sign a contract and you make a agreement, you kind of have to follow through those words. And then if you need to make changes or you need to renegotiate stuff, you renegotiate stuff. And Disney was just kind of like, maybe she won't notice. But obviously she will notice when it's a movie that she's starring in. So apparently she could have lost like $50 million or something like that, according to Culture Crave on Twitter, just because it was released on Disney Plus, which is kind of crazy, and that is a lot of money. And say what you will, Scarlett Johansson has already made a lot of money within Hollywood as is. But even then, like this is money going to Disney. Would you rather have this money go to Disney or a individual? Despite this individual already being as successful as she is, she deserves to get the bag, if you will, because, she put the work in. She did what she had to do within this movie. And if the movie did actually numbers on Disney Plus, she deserves some of that cut. So yeah, and I just think that it's funny that some people are defending Disney or whatever, whatever their argument may be. I can't exactly remember them, but all I know is that they just get ratioed and they just get shut down on Twitter because, it's just kind of silly to, defend Disney in this regard, especially since their response is so funny because they bring up the pandemic and then they drop her, I guess, like $20 million contract that she already signed on for this movie as is, which is kind of funny because I'm just like, well, Disney, weren't you like one of the first, parks to reopen when the pandemic was still kind of bad last year? But, you guys wanted to reopen it when vaccines weren't heavily available or whatever, but it is what it is in that regard. But I think that Scarlett Johansson is probably going to win this lawsuit if they don't sell it, if they don't settle it before it goes to court. I think obviously I'm not a legal person, so I don't know how the hell fucking lawsuits work, but I'm sure that Disney's probably gonna try to find a middle ground. If not, Scarlett Johansson is gonna get a shit ton more money from Disney as is, just because she knows that her contract was breached and Disney did some shady shit because they released it on Disney Plus. But I know that the argument is, what's it called? Oh, like the COVID's still around and, like Disney did this for the safety of other people, this and that. But I'm like, yeah, but Scarlett Johansson signed this contract saying that it was only going to be released in theaters. And because it was released on Disney Plus, she didn't get any money from that. So, she deserves to get some of that. And if it's $50 million worth, then she deserves that as well. But I'm going to stop there and see if Damien has anything else to say.
Yeah, basically, it seems even more scummy because Disney probably knows it could like get away with it, and they probably don't even have a need for Scarlett Johansson anymore due to her role in the MCU basically being over after this movie. Like, I don't see how else they could like have her in future movies, so they probably just don't really care anymore, which is kind of sad.
Which is also why Scarlett Johansson is suing them, because she's like, I don't give a fuck anymore,
Yeah, because her character is kind of done for the MCU, so now like the relations don't really matter. I'm not saying that's the case, but it probably is the case in terms of Disney. Like, you probably wouldn't see them do that with like one of their actors that's still doing stuff, like the Loki guy. What's
Tom
his name?
Hiddleston.
Yeah, him. Yeah, like they probably wouldn't do that with him because they already have like Loki season 2 happening and stuff. So yeah, they probably just like Scarlett Johansson, whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. So yeah, it just seems extra scummy when you look at it in that angle.
Yeah. I don't see any reason why she shouldn't deserve the money from Disney Plus's revenue that this movie has gained, because it is a Marvel movie, and I'm sure that there are people out there that probably found it a lot easier to just buy it on Disney Plus, to just buy it for $30 and then have it in their home, to have it streamed for themselves, their kids, whoever else wants to view it. So yeah, I can see that argument being true, where it's like, oh, like Disney released it on Disney Plus for that reason, but then again, ScarJo deserves the bag, if you will. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, so moving on from there, we're going to get into our recent activities. So I'm going to go first because I got a lot of things I can go through quickly.
Go ahead.
So once again, Eden Zero Manga. It is just a fun, nonsensical shonen about, friendship and, I have this power and, suddenly I can do this thing, and, there's some fan service here and there. I've talked about it so many times on this show. It's fun. I mean, if you just want a mindless, brainless shonen that you just want to read, you can read this one. And I think that, I think I'm on like volume 10 now. So, it's still good. There's definitely a lot going on in some regards. If you like happen to like forget like this character came from like this future, but like the future doesn't matter, whatever, like it is what it is. It's shonen shit. I started reading more of TZ Master Tagaki-san and the Nagatoro manga, because Right Stuff finally sent that shit to me, so I definitely read those right when they came in. And yeah, it's still fun, wholesome bully manga shenanigans. My Hero Vigilantes, Volume 10 recently came out, and that is really, really good because the way Volume 9 ended, it definitely ended on a cliffhanger. So when I first started reading the first couple of chapters within Volume 10, it was very, very interesting because it got very dark, like much darker than the normal like My Hero shenanigans, especially for Vigilantes, because Vigilantes so far has been pretty much like a side story for My Hero, which like the entire series is just that. But it was very much like playing it safe. But now they're taking a much more darker approach and very much, I'm gonna assume like I guess like having fun with it. And I like it so far. I'm not done with Volume 10 yet, so and it is still ongoing. So I wonder on how this sort of story arc is gonna end. But yeah, My Hero Vigilantes, I can't really like praise the series enough. Like you should definitely like read this. Like anyone out there that has any interest within My Hero, this is probably the best spin-off series that they have right now. Because My Hero has a lot of like weird little like spin-off series. Like there's ones where
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like
I knew about this one. That's it.
Yeah. So like the My Hero like manga stuff, like they have like a bunch of different like little spin-offs. Like one of them is just like the school briefs where like they just like talk about the school stuff, and I'm like, that sounds fucking boring. But there's definitely a audience for that because that stuff is still going, I think, and there's definitely multiple volumes of that. But this My Hero spinoff is definitely the most interesting and most, I guess, aligned with like the actual like My Hero stuff. Next thing I want to talk about real quick is Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. So because I have AMC A-List, I kind of force myself to go to the movies as much as possible. And because there's not a lot of movies out there that I'm kind of interested in, this one was kind of just like, oh, like the, what's the goddamn main guy's name that is in this movie? Henry Golding, he was in Crazy Rich Asians. He played as the main guy character in that movie, and he's in this movie as the main character as well, but this one's a much more action movie. And I don't know jack shit about G.I. Joe. I'm gonna be honest. So like when they're just like throwing out like Cobra and Joe's and all of this other like
Joe Mama.
all of these like other terms within the G.I. Joe universe, I'm just like, oh, like that's kind of cool. I kind of know what that is, but not really. But it kind of feels like a overall like generic sort of like action movie. The action scenes are whatever, the story itself is a little strange. They definitely take like the approach of what's it called, there's a couple of twists within this movie that I'm just like, oh, okay, so that's another twist on top of another twist or whatever, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. Would I recommend you go watch it in theaters now? Probably not. You could probably skip this movie unless you're like a huge G.I. Joe fan. But then again, I think that the Snake Eyes character, which Henry Golding plays as, he's not supposed to talk, but like all he does in this movie is fucking talk shit. So like, I don't know. So maybe if you are a G.I. Joe fan, you might want to stay away from this movie. But as a action movie, it's fine. And then last thing that I've been doing is playing Fall Guys. So the reason is because the Ratchet costume came out this week, and the way that they did it this time around, instead of, how it's like, oh, like we have like this unique costume, you could buy it in the shop, 5 crowns for the top, 5 crowns for the bottom. But this time for the Ratchet costume, they actually have like dedicated like missions for it. So I think that that's a lot better than like people just like out here like grinding crowns and then just like saving those crowns for like these costumes or whatever. So like you actually like have players like the incentive to actually like play the game, like do these missions or whatever to like get like these Ratchet points. So once you get enough Ratchet points, you get the full costume, which I did within the one day I played it. Because me and Kobe. Yeah, so like it doesn't take that long. All you have to do is just like play within, I believe it's called like duo squads or whatever. And like the way that game mode works is that since you're a duo, you kind of have to like, so if it's a race, you get more points if you finish first, obviously, but like, you kind of want to be within like it's like top, like 20, like top 20 advance. And, if you happen to be within that top 20 within the point threshold, you move on. And then for like other games, it's the same thing. So like, for example, one game, there's a new game. It's a survival game with like these rhinos, and like the rhinos will chase you and then they'll knock you out. And then if you get knocked out, you're dead. So at one point, me and Kobe died at the same time, but we still took third. And because of that, we moved on because we had enough points. Obviously, if that was a regular game of Fall Guys, we both would have died and then the game would have been over. But I guess that is the kind of beauty of duos. You kind of have to work together in a way. But, I still like the traditional, I guess, Fall Guys mode where it's everyone for themselves and all that other stuff. So, but yeah, that's one of the reasons why we played that mode was because it was part of like the Ratchet Point missions. But yeah, Fall Guys is still Fall Guys. It's fun. I still enjoy it as a platformer battle royale. I think that is still like a very unique sort of angle for the battle royale genre, and Fall Guys still does it probably the best and definitely the most recognizable out of all of the other, I guess, platformer battle royales that I've tried to come out since then. But yeah, Fall Guys is still fun, and that's pretty much everything I've been doing other than Pokemon Unite, which we'll talk about later.
Yes. So I have been playing a lot of Weeb stuff apparently. Now that I'm looking at it. So Neo World Interview came out on Tuesday, and it's very good. So yeah, I actually didn't talk about the demo because I was kind of just saving it to just talk about when the full game came out.
Mhm.
But the demo actually really sold me on the game because I wasn't too sure how the combat was going to feel and stuff. Like I already know the general feel of the game is going to be like the first game, which is great because I thought the first game had a just great music, great vibe to it, and I really enjoyed it. The only thing that I really didn't like about the first game was the combat because it hurt my hands because I kind of had to use the stylus on the Switch, right? And that doesn't really work too well. I talked about that last time.
Mhm.
But overall, I thought it was a great game. This game changes it to not be as unique because you can't really do any touchscreen controls. So it just made it more of an action combat RPG. And I already talked about how I feel about those, but I think this game does a good job sort of making it unique in its own right. So you basically control like 4 characters at once, but each button is mapped to a different ability. So like square is based off like range attacks, triangles, melee stuff. And if you hold L1 or R1, it does different things as well. Also R2, and I believe L2 is going to do something else as well. But anyway, you can basically like combine all your attacks together and just like spam everything. So I could do like a range attacks while holding L and R, and then I could like let go one, release an ability, and like do another one, do some triangle. Like it's like crazy, and I actually really enjoy the combat a lot. And I could really just fully appreciate all the mechanics that were in the first game that made it into this game, where you could chain a bunch of enemies together to have a huge chain battle, and that increases your drop rate of getting certain pins, which are basically abilities. Like the drop rate just goes up like by a lot, and if you lower your level, that drop rate increases like even more. And if you put the game on a higher difficulty, you get different items on from killing different enemies. And I think it's like a super cool system that I didn't really appreciate in the first game because I didn't really do a lot of combat in the first game because again, it hurt my hands a lot. But this game, I think the combat's very enjoyable and can really enjoy those systems as well. They also streamlined a lot of the other systems that were in the first game to this game. So a lot of shops could actually like upgrade depending on how much stuff you buy from them and how many like if you use their armor in battle or their pins in battle, that store also levels up and you get new stock. I think it's more streamlined in this game as well, as you just buy stuff from them. Last time you had to do like weird store quests and stuff, and it was kind of annoying. And this game is a lot more streamlined. Same thing with eating food. Leveling up only increases your health. It doesn't give you any other stats. To get other stats, like permanent stat boosts, you have to actually eat food and stuff. In the first game, it was really weird because you can only eat food like once every actual 24 hours. Like you have to actually wait 24 hours before you eat again, which was kind of dumb. It kind of fit. It was on the DS and stuff. I get that. But like as a more modern thing or I guess a more modern RPG, that just seems really annoying. In this game, after you get full, you just do some battles and like you just eat again, which makes way more sense. And just overall, I think the game just looks good. Obviously, you could tell it's on a smaller budget, but you could tell the team really wanted to make this game. As I think it just has a lot of passion and care put into it, and it really does feel like the first game, but in 3D. I'm not gonna tell you I'm like the biggest fan of this series because I just played it like last year and I really enjoyed it. But it's not like I've been waiting for this game for like 14 years or whatever. But from what I'm playing, it's very good right now. I'm really enjoying the story. I think it's just as good as the first games right now. I really like the characters. And I actually like the characters more in this game just because it seems like they don't leave you like every week because the first game was cycled through party members pretty fast. This game, you have the same constant party members, which I enjoy more because you could like actually get to know them. But yeah, right now it's really good right now, and I'm very excited to play more of it. The music is fantastic, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to playing more of it. This was something I wasn't originally going to buy, but I did it anyway. So the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters came out to a lot of confusion, right? Like we talked about it during that E3 thing where they kind of just showed it in the background, but it didn't really show like the games, which was weird. And we didn't really know much about these Pixel remasters like at all. All we knew it was that they were like cutting content from like the other versions of the past Final Fantasy games and kind of preserving more of how it originally was with some quality of life stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of lame. But then on Twitter, I saw like the soundtrack. Someone like linked the soundtrack, and it's so good. I didn't know they were gonna remix the whole soundtrack to be like way more modern and shit. And it sounds so good. It basically made me like impulse buy it because I'm like, oh shit, this music is sick. I want to play with this, and then I bought it. And it actually is pretty good. So I actually never played Final Fantasy 1, and I'm planning to just do Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 again anyway. Because 4 I didn't really beat. 5 I love 5, but I'll play it again. I love 5. And 6 I feel like I didn't give as much of a chance as I wanted it to. So I think this is a good way for me to just re-experience the older Final Fantasies anyway. And yeah, for the most part, it looks clean. I like the user interface is a lot more modern. There's some quality of life stuff in the first few Final Fantasy games. Like in the first game, there wasn't any Phoenix Downs or Ethers. So Phoenix Downs are an item that res people, and Ethers restores MP, but there's no MP in the first game. It's like it's a really weird magic system, but it does make it a bit better in that game. Also, like, there's an auto battle system to make grinding fights like a little easier. It is missing some features from the past Final Fantasy games that got remastered. Like there's no God mode, there's no really fast forward, which kind of sucks. There's no save states. But for the most part, it's pretty good. I think the graphics look really nice. I think the pixels do look like really good. Some of the backgrounds look a little iffy, but it's still good. Again, the biggest selling point to me is the music. It's so goddamn good. I didn't know they were gonna remaster the whole soundtrack for like all the games. I'm very excited to hear Final Fantasy 4 and 6 because they have very good like soundtracks in that game as well. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty good remaster. I think they're really overpriced. Like right now, they're on sale as like a what do you call it? Like sort of like an opening promotion. Like right now it's like on sale for a bit. But I think Final Fantasy 1 and 2 are $11 or $12 actually, and Final Fantasies 3 through 6 are like $18, which is outrageous. But I bought them anyway. I bought all of them for like $70. It's $70 for like all of them. I'm like, that's absurd, and I bought it anyway. But I think it's a good way to experience these games for the first time. I think everything looks clean. Everything is really readable. I think the font looks really nasty, but you could like change that pretty easily in the settings. And yeah, overall, I think it's a good way to experience the first few Final Fantasy games. But right now, only Final Fantasy 1 through 3 are available. 4 through 6, which are the ones people really want to play, aren't out yet, but they're supposed to be out before the end of the year. So yeah, overall, pretty good. And I'll probably just be playing through these older Final Fantasy games because, I kind of want to. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that now. And lastly, Genshin Impact, because
oh boy,
I always been kind of weird talking about Genshin Impact, because I talked about it before, and the thing that turned me off from this game was the gacha systems, and it still does, I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's been a lot of hype for the game, because they released 2.0, which releases, like, a new continent and, like, some new characters and stuff. And yeah, basically, I still feel the same way about the game, where I think the gameplay and combat are all really good. Obviously, the gameplay is just Breath of the Wild. You just explore this big world. There's a bunch of chests everywhere and puzzles and dungeons, and it gives you that same feeling of exploration and stuff like Breath of the Wild did. But I think the combat's a lot better, as you can cycle through 4 party members, and the game is all about mixing elements together. So if you mix like fire and ice together, you do a bunch of damage. You mix fire and wind together, you can spread the fire around. It's just a really fun combat system, and I really enjoy it. But the thing that still brings it down to me is the gacha mechanic. Like, it's just like, it just feels nasty, like if you want like a 5-star character in this game, you basically have to do 90 rolls before it's like guaranteed, which is like over $100, I think. So yeah, that still doesn't feel good to me. I got some characters just by playing the game, but it still doesn't feel great to me. I'm not gonna lie. But I am enjoying the game a lot more than I did. I think they increased some of the drop rates to not be as bad, because I noticed I've been getting a lot more characters than usual. But it's still, gacha is still not really my thing. But I'm enjoying it for what it is now. I'm going to just sort of ignore that part of the game and just enjoy the free content it does give to you. Because it does give you a lot of free content. I heard by the end game, that's where it kind of gates you a lot. But if you could get, like, like 50 hours of free fun, then I guess I can't really complain. Mostly when it's like pretty damn good as well. So yeah, I think Genshin Impact is still worth a try if you like sort of want to play like, Breath of the Waifu as people were calling it. I think it's definitely, worth that, but just don't pay too much money for it. I don't think it's worth it. You could get characters just by playing the game, and spending $100 to get like a bunch of shitty 3-star weapons isn't my idea of fun. So yeah.
What do you mean? You don't want to pay money for some pretty anime JPEGs, or?
Hey, I mean, like some of them I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool, but I'm not gonna spend that much money on anime. But at least you can actually play as them, right? Like, at least this isn't like the other gacha games where they're just literally JPEGs. At least this one you can like look at them and play as them. That's cool. But yeah. Besides that, it's still kind of icky, and that doesn't make me feel that good. But it's still fun, so whatever.
All right, so now let's talk about Pokemon Unite, because
that kind of transitions well into this
game. I did not expect myself to be playing this game, but our friend Kofi was just like, hey, I'm Pokemon Unite. I was like, fuck it, whatever. So as a person who's played League of Legends for so many years and at one point was trying to go pro in it, this game is surprisingly really goddamn fun. I did not expect myself to have as much fun with a Pokemon MOBA as I have, but just because of how simple and how how kiddified the game is actually like a good thing in my opinion. There's like a decent amount of Pokemon to start with. And then with how the map is and how the roles are, like the roles aren't clearly defined. And the fact that every single game is guaranteed 10 minutes, I think is nice, because, when you would boot up a League game, it's like, all right, this could be a FF at 15 or this could be a 30-minute fiesta. Who the hell knows? So the fact that this game is like clearly defined as like 10 minutes, done deal. I think that's nice. So is there anything you would like to say, Damien, before I go on my spiel?
Yeah, I basically feel the same way. I love the 10-minute timer, honestly. It makes the games go really fast. It never feels like it drags out or anything. Like, it's constant, like, action, and I really like that. As I think the thing that turns me away from League, it was the really long, like, games, and, when things get stressful, it's just like, not really fun to play, at least in my eyes. And I play a decent amount of League. I played like 500 hours of that game. Obviously not as much as you did, but yes, I still played a lot. So yeah, playing this game sort of gives me that same like nice MOBA itch, but not really being like too much of my time like wasted. You know what I mean? It just jumps you right into fun. The game is again, it doesn't have too many buttons either. It's like you only got like 2 abilities plus an alt, and like I guess a summoner spell, like one summoner spell essentially. Like you have like your potion, or there's even flash in this game. Like eject button is just flash. So yeah, I think the game is pretty easy to pick up and play and understand as well. So I think they nailed it with it being simple but still feeling like enough of a MOBA where you could get invested into it. So I think they did a good job on that part.
Yeah, I think that going into it, I was definitely like, all right, so like how good is this game actually? And I was playing it with Kofi, so I was like, I actually had someone on my team that kind of knew what was going on, so that was nice. I'm gonna be honest, my first couple of games, I was fucking shit. I was so bad. I was because the way that this game works, all right, so there's like no minions, right? All you have to do is focus on getting the Pokeballs and then scoring them. So like that concept was kind of like throwing me off a bit. But once I understood that, I was like, oh, okay, so like I can't just like run it down because I'm gonna lose Pokeballs, and then the tower's gonna be there, and then they're gonna score on my tower, and then I'm gonna have like 0 points and shit like that, but I think that that aspect of just like scoring points and like that's all you really have to do is kind of cool. And I kind of understand that part of the game now, because literally at first I was kind of just like running it down and just like trying to like fight everyone because I'm like, I'm a fucking League player, I know what I'm doing, and then I'm like, wait, I actually don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And the objectives on the map outside of just like scoring points, you have the objectives on the top and bottom. You have the Rotom and then the other guy at the bottom.
Yeah, Dreadnought.
Yeah, Dreadnought, and those give you like
Zapdos,
small buffs, and then Zapdos, which is pretty much the game fucking flipping in and of itself. If you're losing, you pretty much go for that, and then if you're winning, you can also go for that. But if you throw it there, you throw it there because. Some people have complained that Zapdos is a bit strong, which I do agree with, because the game does get very coin flippy once that sort of objective becomes available on the map, which I believe is like for like the last 2 minutes of the game,
Yeah.
or something like that. So yeah, Zapdos is pretty much when you secure it, you're able to score instantly, and it's double points. By the way, like that shit is crazy. And if you take it down, everyone instantly, or most people get 50 balls. I think if you have 0, you get like 30 or something. But pretty much you instantly score that, but that also doubles. So you could pretty much turn a game on its head because of Zapdos if you know like how to play around objectives and how to play around team fights, which, because this is a Nintendo game, you got kids playing it, which is one of the reasons why I stopped playing Splatoon online seriously, because that shit was just so infuriating when I was in like high B, high A rank, and I was just like, these fucking kids are just so stupid. How are they this high up anyways? Playing Pokemon Unite is kind of the same deal. You have some people just like AFK. You just have some kids that are just running it down and like have no idea how a goddamn MOBA works. But because I'm not taking it that seriously, I'm just like, all right, whatever. I'll just try to do what I can, and then if we lose the game, we lose the game. There is a surrender button, which is nice because you could get out of those games very quickly if people actually want to surrender. Because this game was made for mobile, some of the buttons are kind of weird. So like when you have to like teleport out of base, that shit was kind of finicky because you have to like hit one of the triggers and then you have to move with the right stick to like teleport where you want to go. That shit is kind of weird. But I did get used to it kind of quickly. But yeah, the menus are laggy as fuck.
Oh yeah, the menus are awful. There's too many of them and they're laggy.
Yeah, there are way too many menus, but that's just because it is trying to eat your money, try to get you to use your actual currency to get these Pokemon. And that's another thing, is that like I think there's a cap on how many of like the in-game currency you can get per month or something like that, which is kind of bullshit. And then it takes a while to get that in-game currency, and then the Pokemon that are like really new or like really fun to play as, they're kind of expensive as well. But yeah, like there's just like these mobile things in the game that I'm just like, whatever, like it's fucking Tencent, right? Like they made this game, so I'm not that surprised. But yeah, overall, Pokemon Unite's fun. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. It just does have a lot of like monetary like issues. Like it basically has everything. It has a battle pass. Yeah, pay for the Pokemon. There's Pokemon skins. There's trainer skins. So, like this weird gacha thing. We could get more trainer skins. Then probably the most egregious thing is the held item system, where the held items, you just put them on your Pokemon before a match and you get bonuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. But if you want to level up those items to like level 30, I believe it just costs like an absurd amount of like currency to do it, or you could like pay real money. And I think that's where the sort of pay to win discussion sort of comes in. And I think the easiest way to could fix that is by either not allowing held items in ranked, or making like the hold item or the held items only like go up to like level 20 or something in ranked or something, because having it like be like that is pretty bad, since it just basically gives you like an unfair advantage of all your held items being level 30 as opposed to someone that might only have it at level 20, which I believe is pretty easy to get. But yeah, I think that's where most of the discussion of its pay-to-win nature is coming from, and hopefully they actually fix it, because people actually are enjoying the game. I'm enjoying the game, which I didn't expect to be saying that, but I am. So hopefully Tencent actually realizes this, and like, hey, you could make more money in the long run if people actually enjoy the game, but companies don't really see it like that. Just let's just burn them all right now for all their money, instead of like making goodwill and just like releasing skins, because people would buy that anyway. But yeah, for the most part, it is a lot of fun. But yeah, it does have some issues that hopefully get ironed out. But I guess we'll see about how the future of this game actually will look like, if they actually want to keep supporting this game in the long term or not. But yeah, overall, it's a good time, and if you're interested in it, I'll say it's worth a play.
Yeah, I mean, it is a free-to-play game, so like there's no harm in like at least trying it out. If you're not familiar with MOBAs, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a learning curve, just because when me and Kofi were playing it, once I got good, I'm going to be honest, like I said, I was really fucking bad. But once I actually like understood how to play Pokemon Unite and like what the objectives were and like how to control Pikachu / Garchomp, which are like the two main characters that I play as, I did play some Venusaur, which it is whatever. But you're definitely if you're familiar with MOBAs, is definitely a instant dopamine hit when you fucking see that like you scored like 500 points and then they scored like 20 like that. Like some games are just like super duper one sided, which like I've seen on Twitter. There's like a team that scored 1,000 and then their team scored 0. Like there's no shot that like the other team was probably just full of fucking kids. Like no, like it had to be that. And like I'm sure that there's a lot of kids out there today that probably played Pokemon Unite. It was like, this game sucks just because like they got washed like that. And I'm sorry if I, fucking did that to anyone out there. Because there's definitely a lot of jokes on Twitter that's just like hilarious. That's like, my niece was crying because she lost in Pokemon Unite or some shit. But yeah, I think that this game is going to be a lot of fun if they actually decide to like balance it out a little bit, because there's definitely some Pokemon that are super duper overpowered and like can take over a game super duper easily if the player knows what they're doing. But then again, like I've seen like some players just like instantly like throw games before Zapdos because like they don't know fucking objective control. Because they're just like going for these scores or whatever, and like we just corner them on the bottom of the map, and then we just get Zapdos or whatever because Zapdos is broken. Which I'm still a believer that they should balance that, because having it be you get it and then you also score double and it scores instantly, so you can't really stop them from scoring is kind of bullshit. But yeah, I think that will I be playing Pokemon Unite a couple months from now? Who knows? But right now I'm definitely having some fun with it. I'm not sure how many hours I have on it currently. It's probably at least like 6, maybe even 10. I don't even know. But I definitely look forward to playing more with friends, because I do not see myself playing this by myself, because I get really, really frustrated when I, lose in games where I know it's goddamn children that I'm playing against and with. So yeah.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I don't mind as much. If I play solo, I mostly focus on just like the daily and battle pass stuff. I'm like, I'll just do these. I'm not really looking to win at that point. But basically I feel the same exact way as you. I think Zapdos does feel a little too much. Like I feel they should either take away the double points or the instant goals. Like I feel like having both is way too strong. But that's up to them to balance that out. I don't know how that's gonna work out. But yeah, overall, pretty good game. It surprised me a lot. I'm gonna be honest. So,
what Pokemon are you like gravitating towards?
I really like Ninetales, because you unlock Ninetales for free after like 2 days or something, and I really enjoy that character. I've been trying to find someone that's more sort of like mage-like, I guess, since that's what I really like to play in League, and I think Ninetales has some pretty good poke and stuff. I think Dazzling Gleam is a little too short range, but when you do hit it, it feels pretty good. So yeah, and so, I really like Cinderace as well. Cinderace is a lot of fun.
Yeah, Cinderace is fucking insane, like late game. Actually, I'm just like this, because once you get to like the point of Zapdos and like Cinderace has levels, it's like that Pokemon's autos are doing so much fucking damage. But I'm gonna stop there because I'm my fucking League brain's activated.
I could tell.
But yeah, now we're gonna talk about a fucking subject that is not so great, but we kind of have to, because this is very, very much prevalent within the gaming world right now, and that is the Activision and Blizzard lawsuit. So pretty much this blew up because of Jason Schreider's tweets about it. The California Department of Fair Employment and Housing has filed a explosive lawsuit against Activision Blizzard for discrimination. And just by reading through these screenshots about the sort of frat boy workplace and how women that worked there were treated like shit, and how they were not able to gain higher positions, and they were pretty much not even accounted for these like promotions and all of this other stuff. Just like reading these screenshots that like he posted, and like the other articles, the countless number of articles that are out there about this situation, is just fucking crazy to me, especially since we live in 2021. I hope that a lot of people are much more okay with the idea of females and just like people who, whether identify as male or female, within high positions of power, pretty much just treat everyone like a human being. I know a lot of people wear the sort of like be kind, shirts or whatever, which I think are a little corny, but then again, that is kind of true. Just like fucking be nice to other people and shit like that. But yeah, I just find it crazy that like shit like this is still going on within the gaming space, and this is sort of like the I guess the Me Too movement within the gaming world, because I've seen a lot of other sort of people speak up about other gaming companies that I can't name on the top of my head right now, you know, saying that, you know, they were a female and they worked at this game company and, you know, shit happened there. And I think Hafu, she made a tweet about on how like one of the I guess like she participated in a Blizzard tournament, and like one of the top teams that qualified was like they're gonna do something to Hafu or something like that. I can't exactly name it on the top of my head unless I go to her fucking profile. Just give me 1 second, because that tweet obviously blew up. It was gonna rape Hafu at regionals. Yeah, that shit's not cool, and that was in 2008, which, you know, obviously different times, but even then, like, that shit's kind of monka, like that.
Yeah,
like,
I think she was like 17 at the time.
yeah, that
too.
Too, like that's fucked up. And I don't even know how that even, you know, was like, oh, you know, like, it's just a joke, guys. But like, is she okay with the joke? Like, that's the main thing, and obviously she is not fucking okay with it. But yeah, I think that Activision and Blizzard, you know, them trying to sort of counteract this sort of thing, saying that, you know, like, we could have done better, this and that. I'm just like, y'all are so fucked. Like, this shit is so done.
Yeah, Blizzard has been in so many controversies like in the past few years that's kind of hard to like defend them like at all, with the Hong Kong stuff and like this. And this isn't the first time we heard about, you know, Blizzard being awful to their workplace, you know. So now, like, but just now that we have like people really coming forward and showing their stories there, which are really awful, by the way. Like, if you read them, like just little excerpts and stuff, it's really bad. That, like, I just can't support, you know, Blizzard anymore. Like, it's just like, it's like the things they've been doing is awful, and I don't know if they're really gonna fix it. Like, they might do like Ubisoft, right? When Ubisoft got caught doing this stuff, all those people are still working at Ubisoft. It just kind of like made it go away, and like everyone's like just doesn't talk about it anymore. Blizzard is probably gonna do the same thing, where they don't like fire any of these people. They kind of maybe lay low for a little bit, and then like after a year, when people forget, they'll just like continue as usual. You know, it's just kind of awful, all things considered.
Yeah.
And really, the only way to like make it stop is like, honestly, is to just stop buying Blizzard stuff. And it seems to be happening already. Like, people are just unhappy about how all their games are going right now. You know, WoW, you know, like I talked about in the last episode, a lot of people are leaving WoW for Final Fantasy 14 because WoW has just been experiencing so many content droughts and like 2 bad expansions in a row. You know, StarCraft 2's dead. Overwatch hasn't been doing too well because they've been making Overwatch 2, but we don't even know how well that's going to do. Hearthstone's been having a lot of issues. Diablo 3 is also kind of dead until Diablo 4 comes out. So, yeah, Blizzard really isn't in, like, the greatest shape, like, at this point in their time. And, yeah, we could probably see why, due to, like, their workplace being such a goddamn mess. So, yeah, it kind of does hit hard as a Blizzard fan and as someone that just cares about these workers. And hopefully, like, everyone's able to make a change in this company to actually, like, you know, make Blizzard great again. And in a really wrong sense, but, you know, make Blizzard like an actual good company again, because they were, and now they're just kind of trash. So, yeah, I'm hoping change actually does happen eternally, and it's not just like smoke and mirrors, but it probably is at the end of the day. So, yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to see if any of these like protests like that the workers are doing is actually gonna work. But yeah, we're just gonna have to see about that.
Yeah, I mean, I just what's it called? I was going through the Twitter thread that Jason Schreider, you know, he initially put out. Someone commented this one piece. I'm just gonna read it for you guys because this shit is fucking crazy. In a tragic example of the harassment that defendants allowed to fester in their offices, a female employee committed suicide while on a company trip due to a sexual relationship that she had been having with her male supervisor. The male supervisor was found by police to have brought a butt plug and lubricant on this business trip. Another employee confirmed that the deceased female may have been suffering from other sexual harassment at work prior to her death, specifically at a holiday party before her death. Male co-workers were alleged to be passing around a picture of the deceased vagina. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
literally,
that was the thing that made me go like, actually, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, literally just fucking blow the company up. Like, fuck this shit, bro. Like, this shit is so fucking bad. And we haven't even talked about the fucking Cosby Suite shit, which, like, I haven't read the full article personally, and I haven't read the full sort of like lawsuit statement and everything like that. But just like seeing these excerpts, I've read most of this Cosby Suite shit, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? You know, like even if they were to name the Cosby Suite after what was because the room looked like something of Bill Cosby or some shit. I don't even know.
Well, it was just because like someone would like, take advantage of women, like how Bill Cosby did by like, drugging them and then take him to the hotel suite. That's why they called it that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why it's called the Cosby Suite, because of that. And there was a picture of a bunch of Blizzard employees like posing with a giant ass portrait of Bill Cosby. So they kind of knew what they were doing, which is like really, really psychotic. Like that's just like borderline like psychopathic. I'm like, what are you doing? Like these people are doing these awful things and they're like proud of it too, like in their little awful circle of friends there. So yeah, definitely like an awful look for them. And like I know it was in 2013 and people are gonna say people could change, but that's like some straight up like awful shit right there, Like I don't know how I could defend that.
Yeah, I mean, God damn it. Why would you ever fucking have this shit? I mean, man, the fact that this shit happened in 2013 and it's only coming out now is fucking crazy to me, just because I feel like that this should have probably come out a lot sooner, and that there's evidence and like text messages and photos of all of this shit from people who worked at Blizzard or former Blizzard employees or whatever. The fact that the fucking group chat was called BlizzCon Cosby Crew, that shit is fucking cringe and actually disgusting. And yeah, I mean, like this shit's obviously horrible, and I'm sure that a lot of these people hopefully do not walk away scot-free whatsoever, because I know that people have their fucking name dragged and people have their reputations ruined, but they're still able to find jobs within the same space that they currently were in previously, which is fucking crazy to me, because someone's reputation and someone's I guess how they carry themselves is very important. And like if you're known as the fucking guy that was part of the Cosby BlizzCon crew, like that shit is fucking dumb. And if you're still able to find work within the gaming space, that shit is fucking tragic. And I think that, everyone who's come out with their stories and people who have, sort of participated in the lawsuit and sort of made their stories heard, they are fucking brave individuals. And I cannot believe that this shit happened all of these years ago and we're only finding about it now. Yeah, and I, just fucking blow up Blizzard and Activision. This shit is done. Like, I can't remember the last time I played an Activision-sized Blizzard game. I think it was probably fucking Warzone, which even then, fucking Warzone out here taking like 3 terabytes of everyone's goddamn hard drive. So, I don't even think I have the fucking Blizzard app installed, because I know that like I don't even play Blizzard games or fucking Battle.net or whatever the fuck. Yeah. But yeah, it like this shit is just so fucking dumb. Like I just can't believe that this shit even happened anywhere near for as long as it did all those years ago. The fact that we're finding about it now. So
yeah, like basically like. Yeah, I can't see myself like I probably was gonna buy the Diablo 2 remaster, and it sucks because I know Vicarious Visions are really the ones that made it before they got fully absorbed by Blizzard, but I just can't at this point, like it's too much. Even like Overwatch 2 is just like I don't know if I could justify any of that to like buy a new Blizzard project at all. So yeah,
wait, Crash Bandicoot's fucked. Oh no, we can't play anymore. Crash. Oh no,
can't play Crash anymore. I mostly associate that with Vicarious Visions, but unfortunately, anyway, it's not like they're making new Crash games anymore because they got absorbed into like Activision Blizzard. So yeah, everything sucks. Activision sucks. Blizzard sucks. They all suck, and I hate saying that, but it's true. And hopefully they actually do. We have some significant change in the company, but I doubt it. But we'll see. Like I've already heard that they're like, the workers will try to unionize as they always try to do, and they'll try to just bust that shit immediately. So yeah, it really looks like there's not gonna be any change like ever in this company. So yeah, at this point, like Travis said, you just gotta burn it down, man. Goddamn.
Yeah. But I don't think there's anything else we really have to say. I mean, obviously, I encourage everyone listening to like actually go out and do your own research. Unlike me, I read most of this Kotaku article and I read snippets of the actual lawsuit, but definitely look into this, because I think that this shit is important to keep in mind for the future, because I'm sure that this is not the last of it, unfortunately. Like, there's going to be other stories, and there's going to be other people coming out and outing these other probably AAA, game development studios and stuff like that. So yeah.
But yeah, I think I basically said my piece. I let all my anger out on Blizzard and Activision.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to the Travis Damian Podcast, episode 67. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.